Hi, I'm Michael Killen. Palo Alto is the most progressive small city in the United States with respect to working to create clean jobs and sustainable practices. Burt is the mayor of Palo Alto, and I've lived in Palo Alto for about 26 years, and I've had an opportunity to see the workings of several of the mayors, and Pat is the most aggressive in developing clean jobs, sustainable practices that I have ever seen. I'm going to ask Pat several questions about what he does. How are you, Pat?
Good. How are you, Michael?
Good. And I can define your community how I see, and I'm somewhat knowledgeable about these things. First of all, you are working very hard to create an environment in this community that fosters the growth of clean jobs, companies, and investments. Is that correct?
That's right. And it's really building off of a number of years that have initiated a series of programs that we've done in the city government in sustainable practices, and we're now integrating that with what's going on in the private sector, both in the Cleantech jobs per se and our general economy, where companies that live and work in Palo Alto are also adopting sustainable practices and choosing to locate in Palo Alto and grow in Palo Alto because of a shared value system.
Shared value. And that sort of means the government, the venture community here, and workers and other parts of this infrastructure that makes up the greater Palo Alto community?
Yes, including all of our residents and nonprofits. We have really that convergence of what the local government is doing, our residents and our NGOs or nonprofits, and what's going on in the private sector, and then this great academic element that is there because of Stanford and research facilities, the Electric Power Research Institute, Xerox PARC Institute, and they've built this dynamic base of innovation that has been growing and being the center of Silicon Valley's innovation for a long while. But now as we move into a clean tech economy, it's hitting into this next dimension.
So you're telling me that in this particular environment, there are many different elements: intellectual property, talented people, patents and education, etc. And you help each of these components come together and make progress.
Well, we as a city do, yes. And we also, we want to do a couple of things. We want to help bring them together, and we want to make sure we're not in their way. Part of what government needs to do in the dynamic environment of Silicon Valley is help assist the right environment to occur. When Tesla Motors moved to Palo Alto, we created a strike force to try and make sure that they could hit their timelines on rapidly putting together a factory in a record time, especially for our city. It was a real record.
So, if there is a clean tech company out there, Japanese company, European company, an Irish company, and they're thinking about moving to the greater Palo Alto community, this is what you do for them. You put a team together.
That's part of it. But we also are just part of this dynamic atmosphere that exists where government is only a portion of that. There's the real driving force is all of the technology companies that are going on here. We have not only those that are the glamorous names of a better place and Tesla Motors and the great things that are occurring at Stanford University and the Precourt Center and the Woods Institute, but we have companies like SAP that is located in Palo Alto, who is now in carbon monitoring software, and other companies where Facebook is now getting engaged in sustainable practices. So it's becoming just integrated in our broader economy and our culture.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, I wonder, I see you about in different types of industries. And I see you, for example, bringing the Irish Enterprise Ireland here and connecting them with investors, law firms, potential customers. And is that a role that you do a lot of?
Well, I have a minor role in that. They're already here. Enterprise Ireland is already here in the Valley, but the relationship that has occurred here was partly because of this last summer that I went to Ireland and gave a speech on sustainability, began to build some relationships there, and we're both benefiting from those increased relationships, which is a lot of what causes the dynamic of Silicon Valley to occur. It's relationship building, networking.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'd like to ask, what is your definition of sustainability, especially narrowed to energy, water, and other life-supporting functions or services that we need?
Well, the broad definition of sustainability is that we will live in ways today that will not jeopardize the ability of future generations to have the same high quality life that we're able to have today. So it's a forward-looking concept. A lot of environmental definitions in the past have been about preservation, but sustainability is forward-looking. Second, it's not merely about the environment. Sustainability has really three legs. It's environmental sustainability, economic environment, and social equity. So we care about people. We recognize that in order to be able to afford to have these things, we have to have a strong, vibrant economy. And then we have this great focus on a forward-looking view of the environment.
Now, I have to say, I'm touched by the clarity and depth of your thinking, and that supports what I said, that this is the most progressive small city in the United States when it comes to thinking clearly about things like sustainability. I would like to ask you this question. The boundaries of Silicon Valley are not exactly clear. I mean, some would say it goes all the way up into Berkeley and down, including San Jose and maybe even further. What is the position in your mind that the greater Palo Alto community holds vis-a-vis Silicon Valley, however you define it?
Well, we've been described, in fact, by Tesla Motors as the center of technology and innovation. We're not the largest city in the region, but we have the greatest amount of innovation occurring through Stanford University, through the research institutes, through the venture capitalists and the intellectual property attorneys, and then all the vibrancy that occurs. But it's interesting when you're talking about Silicon Valley and the greater Bay Area, because the population, and depending on the geographic boundaries that you want to put in the greater Bay Area, it's very similar to the population of Ireland. It's similar to the population of Denmark and Sweden, and so we're able as a essentially you can think of this area of Northern California almost as being a large city-state, and we have a lot in common with Ireland in our scale and our ability to look at something that's not so massive that we can never get started. We have a scale that we can actually do some things and get some things accomplished. But the real valuable part is if we're able to provide a model or benchmarks and something that can be scaled for others to emulate. And that's our goal, as well as to live our own way in a responsible manner.
So you'd feel good if the rest of the United States, maybe some other parts of the world, viewed Palo Alto, the greater community, as a model that would help other parts of the United States make progress.
Yes, that's an important responsibility. But California as a whole also has that role. Right now we have an effort to repeal our legislation on AB 32, which is California's climate protection program. And the Prop 23 is attempting to repeal it. As it's by coincidence, Thomas Lega, who I met at a solar retreat in New York, who is Irish, just wrote an article on the importance of this particular initiative. Because if California sustains this goal of 80% reduction in greenhouse gases by 2050 and a more aggressive earlier goal of other milestones, that sets a potential for a whole series of objectives in the US and perhaps globally, just like California's led the way in the past. So we're part of that California vision. Palo Alto plays a small role in that.
All right, to be part of that vision means that you and everyone in the greater Palo Alto community must vote against Proposition 23.
Correct.
Must vote against Meg Whitman. That's me saying it, and must vote for Jerry Brown, and then must also vote for Barbara Boxer. Anyway, you have been a wonderful guest, okay, and I enjoyed it very much. My guest has been the mayor of Palo Alto, Pat Burt. I'm Michael Killen, and when you vote no on 23, no on Carly Fiorina, no on Meg Whitman, if you care about clean jobs and clean air and our future in California.